Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Podcast, the place to catch up on all the regional and national rugby in Wales. You can find us on all the usual social media platforms and message us through there if you want, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. So all the boring stuff out the way, let's talk rugby.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Rap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as usual, Jamie and Carwyn. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. How are we?
I have to say, Carwyn is looking like he's been on 3 weeks in the Mediterranean. He's got the hair, he's got the tan, he's got
sweat.
Yeah, it's got a lot of sweat. So Harley is indeed away this week on holiday. So we replace him with a very adequate replacement, I would say, in Jed from the Attacking Scrum podcast. Good evening, Jed. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Lee. Yeah, could I have adequate replacement as a written reference, please? That'd be nice. I'll stick that on the CV.
Yeah. So this is actually Jed's second time on the pod. So nobody's actually heard the first time because that's the missing pod that is floating around in the ether somewhere. So at some point, if Jed can find it and send it across, we'll put it out there as a bonus pod, just because it makes us that way. We haven't missed a week throughout the season, and then we're full season long and all of that kind of stuff, which is quite nice. It's one of those
I think you should release it in like 15 years' time, like Guns N' Roses with the Chinese Democracy album. Let the world wait 15 years for it, I think.
Maybe it'll grow a vintage. The longer we leave it, the more mythical it will become. So, yeah, I like the sound of that. Right, well, there's a lot of stuff to get through tonight, gents, with the Fiji game. So let's kick off with Drink of the Week, because as we always do. So Jamie and Carwyn have promised us some absolute classics this week. So I'm going to start this week, because I never start. I said to you last week that I'd let the wife choose based on the name. And this this one is called Butcum, which is...
I beg your pardon?
Exactly.
Well, knowing you, it suits you down to the ground, mate.
But the worrying bit is my wife chose this one, and she said, that sounds quite funny, Butcum beer. So it's 4.5%. It's just a plain old beer. It's from Bristol, but it was purely chosen because it's Butcum.
Well, so we don't know what you and your wife get up to when you're choosing beers together. So,
So what have you got for us, Carwyn?
I have, which I've been trying to find for ages. I have the Mikey Ray All Day.
Oh, it's a good drop, that is, Carwyn.
I am over the moon. I've been trying to get that for ages. And I was in Cardiff in one of the arcades the other day. and there it was, calling out to me. So
Nice.
even my can started to sweat now, so I'm going to have a little sip.
Jamie, what have you got, mate?
So I've gone have a beer from Northern
That's
Monk.
nice.
And if you remember last week, I had the fruit crumble and custard beer. I've gone one better now this week. I think you're going to like this one, boys. I have got a flake and sauce ice cream pale ale.
Oh my God. That's gas.
I
hope you're keeping all these cans and like making like a can wall, behind you. You should have a can wall as your background.
Have a listen to the flavours that are in this can, right? So obviously you got the flake and sauce. You've got vanilla ice cream in here. You've got raspberry ice cream and chocolate ice cream, right? And it's 5.7%. And I got to be honest, it doesn't taste as I thought it would. So I thought it was going to be really creamy and sickly, It actually tastes more fruity than I thought. I mean, if you look at the colour of it, it's like a pale sort of red colour.
Yeah.
It's not as sickly as I thought, but it's actually quite nice. But of course, with these novelty beers, they're not designed to have like 5-6 pints. It's like one or 2 pints, and that's a lot because it's so sickly and heavy. But this one is actually okay. But Northern Monk are fast becoming one of my favourite brewers because they're coming up with some really daft beers, and I'm all for it, quite frankly.
There must be someone that sits in a darkened room somewhere and goes, "What's the stupidest flavour we can put in a can of beer?" Because isn't there like a Yorkshire pudding and gravy one or something like that?
I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Aunt Bessie's. Well, Northern Monk have made that. They've made Aunt Bessie's one. They got jam roly-poly custard, roast dinner. Any stupid beers, I'll have it. I don't give a shit. Bring it to me. Send it to me.
No, really, James. We hadn't picked that up, mate. that wasn't coming through. Oh, crikey. So, Jed, top that one, mate, if you can.
No, I definitely can't top that one. And every week when I hear Jamie's beers, it just makes me think it's the behaviour of a serial killer. So I've gone for a mass-produced premium lager, and I've just got a pint of Australia on the go. Although, to be honest, like how nervous I am about this Fiji game, I could be drinking absinthe or something to get me off to sleep. It's it's that bad.
I reckon my nephew will be doing the same tonight. He just sent me a picture of himself with his Welsh top, his bag full of Welsh kit and his hat, and he's about to board the ferry in Plymouth to go to France. And he'll be watching the Fiji game from La Rochelle in a bar, but the rest of the games he's going to.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. I was going to say, so he's going out to France, but he's
going for the whole period. He's got tickets for the final, the third place playoff, quarters, semis, quarters. He's got the lot,
but not the Fiji game.
I am so jealous.
Okay, well, we'll come on to that later.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, I did have a theme tune for News Desk this week, but I'll be honest, I've forgotten what it was, and it was a good one. Yes, I remember what it was. So we've done the TV theme tunes, right? So I thought, okay, let's have a look at a couple of songs that maybe we can mess around with, yeah. So, and while I was thinking of it, they played "Who Let the Dogs Out" on the radio, yeah. So I'm thinking, who's Jamie's news desk? Who? It's Jamie's news desk. Who?
Yeah, you go back to just setting up the pod, mate, and you'll be grand. Because
over to you, Jay.
Right, should we go with the news then? Yeah, let's go with the news. Right, so let's start with some Ospreys news then, shall we? Ospreys have signed a hooker. They've signed former Cardiff hooker Ethan Lewis. The 29-year-old has been signed from Saracens, where he played 25 times in a 2-year spell, including 14 appearances in the English Premiership. So, thoughts on that, Carwyn? Ethan Lewis, time of signing, isn't it?
As long as he can throw straight, I don't care. I mean, I love Dowie Lake as a player. I think he's a cracker, but he's got some more practice time to get in on his arrows, hasn't he? I think, at the moment, especially with the World Cup, obviously the Six Nations, you're going to have Sam Parry away, you're going to have Dowie away, so it'll be good to have him in there as well. I think it's just building a bit more depth, isn't it? And he's got that experience now of having played with some quality players there at Saracens. So yeah, it's good to have him on board.
Well, are you aware of Ethan Lewis at all, Jed? Or
I was. I remember thinking actually it was a shame for Cardiff to let him go, and obviously I think he was always going to be more of a squad player at Sarries, but even that is a pretty decent endorsement. And I think that'll be a good addition to the Ospreys squad. It's probably an area there's been quite a bit of strength in depth over the years, I'd say. And it just, you're right, alongside Sam Parry and then Derry Lake when he comes back. I think that'll be I think that'll be a really astute signing. And I'm trying to think how old he'd be now. So he's not an old player, maybe 25, 26. So plenty.
29.
Oh, is he 29? God, I didn't realise he's that old. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's coming. He should be coming into his prime really then as a hooker.
Yeah.
So
and
it'll be a good signing there.
Yeah, and you think 2 years at Sarries, regardless of what role you're playing, he's had enough game time there, and also just being in and around that coaching setup, I think that would have done him the world of good. And I think that'll be a really solid signing for the Ospreys.
Exactly. He's training alongside Jamie George there week in, week out. Can only help his game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems a good pickup by the Ospreys, doesn't it? So there's some signing news. Let's move on to Cardiff then, and we will come on to the new kit today because that's the running order. But I do want to talk about the significant news this week, the big news coming out of Cardiff, is that they're close to unlocking significant new investment, which would secure their long-term future after months of uncertainty. Cardiff have said their heads of terms have been signed to change the major shareholding of the club and unlock significant investment. Now, they've been talking to Y11 for a long time. It's not them. They've ruled that out, and I quote, because of their existing investment in professional rugby. And I was reading Dan Pearce's blog. He's the guy behind the Cardiff Rugby Life account. And he's saying that it's a British consortium with links to individuals at Cardiff Rugby, but that the money is coming from the Middle East, specifically United Arab Emirates, which is rather interesting, isn't it? What do you make of this, Lee, this new investment from the Middle East, from Cardiff? I mean, it's always good to have investment in Welsh rugby, but I mean, this came out like about out of the blue, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's obviously when you're talking about things like this, then it's all kept under wraps, or unless you're the Ospreys, where it seems to leak out the minute somebody has an idea. But you try to keep this sort of stuff under wraps for as long as you can. Coming out of the bolt of blue is going to be that's how it's going to come. Whether this is something that football has had to deal with, about dealing with the source of the money, and whether you want to deal with people who may or may not come from a similar kind of standpoint to you. So ethically, until we know for definite where that money's coming from, we can't really say. But my issue with places like Saudi and stuff like that is some of the ethical inconsistencies that we have with those kind of investors and kind of countries. Rugby's not football. We're not going to be messing around with £300 million for a striker who only plays 5 games because he gets a tickle on the knee and goes over. So it's great for Cardiff. It's great for Cardiff, and I think it'd be great for Welsh rugby in general, because I think what will happen now is Cardiff had pretty much emptied the can. A lot of players have left Cardiff. This might bring a few new players in who maybe wouldn't have had that opportunity, if you know what I mean. Cardiff would have held on to a lot of those players that have left. So having released so many might give an opportunity to bring some genuine new blood through. That might come from other Welsh regions. I don't see it coming from abroad, to be honest, at the minute. I just don't think that would be something with the new agreements that they'd get away with very easily. So yeah, it's good times. It's good times for Cardiff, and I think that the onward kind of effect on that will be that it might bring other money into other clubs. But we've got to wait and see what the ethical validity of that money is first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, there's a couple of things. First of all, the devil is in the detail. It would be good to know who exactly is involved in the source of this money, as you say. But also, I did see some overexcited Cardiff fans on social media when this news broke. and you had them saying, "Great, we can sign Andrew DePont, even Etzebeth, we can go after all these." Yeah, Cardiff fans are getting excited about who they can sign. I feel it is my duty to bring those Cardiff fans right back down to it by telling them 2 words: salary cap. There is no way Cardiff will be able to go out and spunk a load of cash on players like they can in the top 14, because they are signed up to an agreement with the WRU to reduce their salary cap. So for the new season, all 4 teams are going to be working off roughly 5.2 million. The season after is when it really starts to tighten the belts, because it's going to drop to 4.5 million. So yes, they may be able to get a couple of marquee players, but they are not going to be going out and splashing cash on all these players, because they signed up to an agreement which won't allow them to do that unless the WRU do a massive U-turn and scrap a salary cap or they up it. That's not going to happen. But what they can do is invest that money in off-field projects and coaches and staff. So they could probably redevelop the Arms Park. You know, they could invest in coaches, and if it doesn't work out with Matt Sherratt, if it doesn't work out with Matt Sherratt, for example, they've got the finance then to go out and do a proper world scour of world-class coaches. They can do that, because as I understand, salaries for coaches and staff, they don't come into the salary cap. It's only for players. So they will be able to have some spending power. Like they could go to New Zealand or, scour the world for a world-class coach. But the idea of them going out and playing fantasy rugby and signing all these players, when I saw a couple of Cardiff fans, posting Man City gifts and posting Blue Moon lyrics, it's just utterly daft. Like, sorry, lads, get in the real world. But if I was a Cardiff fan, for me, I would be just relieved, because there's been a lot of off-field nonsense going on at Cardiff, quite frankly. The finances were in dire straits, and it's coming exactly at the right time. So it's really good news for Cardiff. But like I said, the devil's in the detail, and we'll wait and see. What do you make of it, Jed?
There's so much to unpack here. I think, firstly, on the ethics point that Lee said, I'd love to know a bit more about that, because there is a fast growing trend for Gulf states to invest in sports, and if we're serious about kind of the inclusivity bit that rugby clubs are talking about now, and making a game welcoming for women, for people from different ethnic backgrounds, and obviously this is all in the wake of the shit that's gone on at the WRU for a long period of time. You can't then really take a huge chunk of money from countries whereby it's illegal to be homosexual, or women have second class rights. I do have a real problem with that. That's not me pouring scorn on Cardiff. I really hope it's legit sources, and that Cardiff are able to go and invest it and become sustainable, because there is so much opportunity in Cardiff. And to move on to the next point, you're absolutely right. It's about investing that money wisely in the long term, and whether that's redeveloping the stadium, looking at other, this all sounds really kind of like wanky and businessy, but other revenue streams and ways of bringing money in. I just think that there's so much potential in Cardiff, because it is a wonderful city, and you've got the rugby club with so much history slap bang in the middle of it, and often that's not that's not the case. You've got so many rugby clubs on the outskirts of the city. I think it would be great to get into a position where that's packed out every week, and I just wanted to see for it to become successful. And you're right, something like, I don't know, maybe bringing in a director of rugby alongside Matt Sherratt at some point might be something that takes some of the burden off him. Making that step up from a tax coach to head coach. So look, from a financial point of view, it's good to see the money coming in. I'm just I'm worried about the source.
Sports washing. This one you're referring to, isn't it?
That's exactly it.
Cowan, any quick thoughts on this?
There's nothing saying that it's not a British company working out in Dubai that's bringing in this money. I say legitimate lines, but there has been long rumours about the Arms Park being refurbished and having, restaurants and bars down there along the TAF as well, just to bring in extra income. Those rumours have been going around for a long time now, and maybe or not they'll come to fruition with this extra investment. Who knows? But like you said, Jed, it can only be good for the city as well and for the club. So let's wait and see.
I think
it is good news for Cardiff, though. It's like if I was a Cardiff fan, I would be happy with it, but I completely take on board what Jed is saying as well. Like, if it was a group of Saudis taking over the Dragons, for example, I have really conflicted opinions. Because on the one hand, yes, my club is saved, financially we're secure, but on the other hand, morally, is it right? It's conflicting for me. Sorry, Lee, what were you going to say then?
Oh, I was going to say the first thing they need to do is fix the fucking roof in the bar, because you've got to go. If it's raining when you go in, you've got to have this is where Gareth Edwards developed the sidestep. It's to get in from the door to the toilet, because you've got to sidestep everything just to get in. But yeah, fingers crossed for the future. Yeah.
Just to finish on that, Jamie, you and I both well know they're not going to sign Antoine Dupont. It'll be Ben Carter or someone off us. It's got newly backed invested Cardiff raid the Dragons. It's got that written all over it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh God, I wish you hadn't said that. No, you're absolutely right. They probably will end up going to Dragons, but so one to keep an eye on there. Stay with Cardiff. They've released their new kits today. For some reason, Cardiff fans thought they were getting quarter jerseys. I don't know why they came to that conclusion, but when it was unveiled, it's half and half. So it's half blue and black, and then the other alternative jersey is pink and black. I like the pink one better, but have any of you seen these kits, or what do you make of it? What do you think of it then, Jed?
I take kits far too seriously, and it's been a long time since I've looked at a club kit and thought actually they look good, because for one, there's always way too much sponsored messaging on it. And, I know they've got to bring revenues in and stuff like that. But so often it's just like, it looks like, Formula One overalls these days. They've managed that quite well. I really like the half and half bit. I don't know if you've seen the video that goes with it as well, where they've kind of released it kind of inspired by half and half rice and chips down Caroline Street. And I thought, do you know what? It's really nice to kind of have something that doesn't take itself too seriously and go, do you know what? That's a part of a fun part of Welsh culture. It's brilliant, and so I'm all for it. Actually, I think it's I think it's a great jersey, and I really like the video to go with it.
I thought that the best part of that was the amount of people arguing about what Caroline Street was actually called.
Yeah.
Was it called Chip Pan Alley? Was it called Chippy Alley? What was it called? Caroline Street? And
I call it Chippy Lane. It's Chippy Lane to me. I don't know what it is to anyone else, but I've always referred to it as Chippy Lane.
Yeah, it's Chip Pan Alley to me. But this is it, and that's exactly what you're saying, Jed. It's such a cultural part of when you go to watch a game in Cardiff, particularly if you're of an older age, that's where you go after the game to get your food, and everyone just goes down there, sort of thing. So yeah, it was nice to reference the half and half. I saw the half and half thing, and I was thinking, because that's what I saw first. I was waiting for the kit launch, and then there's like this guy walking around with chips and rice, and I'm like, well, what? I don't. Do you know what I mean? It was bizarre. But
for clarification, on the Cardiff version of Monopoly, it is Chippy Alley.
Is it?
Well, there we are then.
Cracking. Yeah, that's that one sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Lee. It's just like it was nice to see like a bit of fun rather than like a really po-faced "we are Cardiff Rugby." Like it's like just we've seen all them. Everyone does the same stuff. It was nice to see something that actually has a place. Like you say, if you've ever watched a game in Cardiff, either international or watching a game at the Arms Park, that as part of the match day routine. So I thought it was nice, it was fun, it's and it's a cracking kit. So yeah, two big thumbs up from me.
Excellent. Okay, then let's move on to the Dragons. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Steph Hughes has been announced as their new captain. I mean, it's the obvious choice, wasn't it, Jed? In fairness.
Oh, what a signing he's been. Absolutely superb. Exemplary. He's been wonderful on the pitch. He dealt with that, to say he came in a temporary contract and then dealt with all of that shitstorm around the players' strikes and that uncertainty. I thought he spoke really, really well. He put across the players' point of view really eloquently, and he's just been superb on the pitch. He's a real calm, level-headed player. what a wonderful signing. He's not even been there a year yet, has he? And he'll go down as a wonderful signing for the Dragons. So yeah, great choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a lot of Scarlets mates, and they still say to me now, we shouldn't have let him go. They always say that to me, particularly when he has a really good game. They say we shouldn't have let him go. He's held in such high regard down west, and yeah, he's been a brilliant player for the Dragons. And for me, he was the obvious choice to be Dragons captain. Just to add to that, they did announce 4 vice captains, and that's Harrison Kelly, George Knott, Angus O'Brien, and Rodri Williams. So it's a strong core leadership group building at the Dragons there, I think. And staying with the Dragons, just want to give a shout out and congratulations to the Dragons wheelchair team. So they wrapped up the League 2 title in the wheelchair rugby fives tournament this last weekend in Stoke-on-Trent. That goes on the back of winning Judgment Day and being crowned Welsh Open champions. Isn't it nice to have a Dragons team that's successful? It is, isn't it? It's very unusual, but we have a team called Dragons based in Ronnie Parade that are winning trophies. It's mad. I know. It's just a weird thing to
make the most of it, James. Make the most of it, fella.
Oh, I absolutely am. Don't you worry about that. That's why I brought you up on the pod tonight. Right, so moving on now. Unfortunately, I do have some sad news. On the weekend, it was announced that David Di Watkins has died, aged 81. Dual code legend, of course. Watkins won 21 Wales caps, and he was the only player to ever captain the British and Irish Lions in Rugby Union and Great Britain in Rugby League. And he played a key role in Newport's famous win over the All Blacks in 1963. That was the only match that the All Blacks lost on our tour, and he captained his club for 3 seasons. Then in 1967, like a lot of players of that era, he went up north, played for Salford, and he made more than 400 appearances for them. And listen to this is a hell of a stat. Watkins still holds the Rugby League record of playing and scoring in 92 consecutive matches. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Watkins later became Newport team manager in 1992, and he went on to serve as club chairman and later president. Awarded an MBE in 1986, and he was inducted into the Newport RFC and Men's Rugby League Hall of Fame. Absolute legend, and undoubtedly one of the greatest ever players to play for Newport RFC. Sad news, isn't it, gents? What did you make of that news that came out?
It was good to see a minute silence ahead of the game on Sunday on S4C as well, because it was quite. It wasn't actually long before that it was announced. So. Yeah, there aren't many players. I don't even think like Jonathan Davis made the Lions tour before he captained.
Never played Union Lions, no.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, to be able to do the two, it's you're not going to see many players of that kind of ilk around anymore. So yeah, big loss.
Yeah, legend is a word that's used a lot there, Jamie. You just used it then. That is completely fit in with Di Watkins. Those achievements speak for themselves. The impact that he had at Newport and the impact that he had in rugby league speaks volumes of what a gifted player he was. And obviously I never saw him play, but you speak to those people who who did and who know the impact he made, and for a club side beating New Zealand, to be a part of that's something very, very special. And legend is a fitting word for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it for me for the news. Unless anyone else got anything they'd like to add before we move on to the crunch game on Sunday.
Let's move on to the Rugby World Cup, because in a weird way it's come really quickly, and then in another way it feels like we've been building up to it for like about 3 months. So but it's here. We're recording Thursday night. By this time tomorrow, the All Blacks and France will have kicked off.
That's going to be a cracking game.
Yeah, well, what's your kind of feeling on it? So I'm thinking that actually the build up to it in the media is actually quite tame. Do you know what I mean? It's I've not seen it massively advertised anyway. What have you made of it so far, Jed? The build up and your thoughts on
Yeah,
it.
do you know what? I hadn't thought of it like that actually, Lee. But I think that's because I've been so excited myself. I've been listening to every rugby podcast. I've been watching, the greatest the greatest World Cup tries on ITV X. I've been, they've been scouring the internet for rugby, looking at old Jonah Lomu videos. I've just been so desperate for the World Cup to begin. But actually, yeah, you're right. It's not made a huge amount of the mainstream media, I guess. But that said, I cannot think of a more exciting opening game. The only thing that comes close is 1995 when the Springboks were hosting, having never played in a Rugby World Cup, post-apartheid, etc. But in terms of two teams of absolute quality to meet in the opening game of this, normally, let's be honest, it's normally a bit of a warm-up for the hosts. Last time out, Japan played Russia. England played, what was a Fiji side that's nowhere near as good as this one in 2015. You've had a lot of games of that ilk. New Zealand played Tonga in 2011. This one, to see two fully loaded, the All Blacks are always strong. Whatever happens, whatever happened to them at Twickenham the other night, they are still the All Blacks. France on home soil, and this particular vintage of a French side, it could be an absolute firecracker. I can't wait.
Carwyn, what are you making of it so far, mate?
Yeah, well, do you know what? I was only thinking this yesterday. I was watching recording of being Lewis Rees-Zammit. And it was only after I saw my first advert for the Rugby World Cup, the lead up. But I haven't seen any at all. Now, then again, I haven't watched much TV, to be honest. But you're not here. I'm only seeing it like in the newspapers or online articles. So there hasn't been for me much build up over the TV. But like I said there, Jed, I cannot wait for this first game. All my family's excited to watch the opening ceremony. New Zealand All Blacks against France. First game, Rugby World Cup. It is going to be a banger. Absolute banger. Well, I hope it's not. I hope it's not a flat game. I hope they really express themselves and go hell for leather in that first game, because I'm not sure what the permutations are of who wins that group plays who. I haven't looked at that.
It will be the winner of that will play either Ireland, Scotland, or South Africa, probably. So,
well, there's no easy game either way. Then I suppose if you come first or second in that group, but I do hope it's a humdinger or a game just to set the World Cup alight. I mean, France is an amazing rugby country. I'm just gutted I'm not going to be there myself. Some great stadiums, great crowds, great cities and towns to go and see, and I think the atmosphere will be fantastic. And I hope everyone who's going really enjoys it and takes it all in, not just as a rugby, but as a rugby country. I'm just, like I said, I'm gutted I can't be there. And I'm really looking forward to it. Really excited now.
So when you're saying, Jed, about watching videos on internet and all of that kind of stuff, how many times have you watched Lomu running over the English backline? Because I haven't been looking and it just keeps popping up, and I must have seen it on Facebook about 10 times from different places. Do you know what I mean?
I've watched it a lot, and do you know what? Obviously, everyone thinks about the 1995 one running over Mike Catt. What you forget is in 1999, he did the same thing in the pool stages and arguably better tries. He was swiping them off like windscreen wiper, like flies off a windscreen wiper. They could not get close to him 4 years down the line as well. I mean, the guy was just an absolute phenomenon. He did the same thing to France in that amazing semi-final. So yeah, I mean, I love the Rugby World Cup. I absolutely love it. And whatever happens to Wales, we've all witnessed good Rugby World Cups for Wales. We've witnessed terrible ones. Whatever happens, it is just such a brilliant tournament, and I think rugby needs it. There's so much bad news around the game generally, and whether that's the financial perils, whether it's concussions, things like that. I really just want this to be a really good advert for people to go, do you know what, this is a brilliant sport. And Carwyn said it there. Like, I mean, France is the perfect place. Imagine, to go back to our point about Cardiff, if this was in fucking Doha or somewhere, like it would not be the same level of excitement. The fact that it is in France, a nation that just loves rugby so much and has this wonderful side with it. There's so many brilliant storylines that I think are going to come out. I'm hugely excited.
Sorry, just going to Jonah Lomu with it. Can I just say he's never scored against Wales in top tier nations? No. It's either he's never scored against them in the Rugby World Cups or he's never scored against them. I don't think he's ever scored against Wales.
Well, he was discovered playing for Wrexham, wasn't he? Because Kingsley Jones. He used to be best mates with Kingsley Jones.
Wrexham.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Wrexham.
No. It was somebody.
It'd be someone in Gwent. It'd be someone in Gwent. It wouldn't be Wrexham.
No, it was North. It was a North Wales side.
Was he really?
Yeah, and he was playing. And what was Kingsley Jones's dad's name? He was
Phil Kingsley Jones.
That's him. Yeah, that's him. So he was coaching up in what was RGC before it was RGC or whatever, and he sees this kid playing, and I think he'd been put at number 8 or something, and he was like, that kid's got some oomph, and then somebody had to go off, and they put him on the wing. And that was like it. That was gone. And he tried to sign him, but he was only like over for the summer. But he went home, and Kingsley Jones was on the blower to guys in New Zealand, going, "This kid's something special. Like, you need to give him some oomph." And the rest of it is history. And my favourite Jonah Lomu thing. So I was talking to my boy because there's a generation that don't know Jonah Lomu. That they know the legend a bit like my generation knows the legend of Gareth Edwards. We never actually saw him play. And Ian Evans' testimonial game. So Ian Evans is on the wing against Jonah Lomu. Jonah Lomu gets the ball on the 22. And by the time he goes over the line, he's got 6 players around him, and 4 of them were Welsh internationals. And he's just taken all 6 of them over the line, and you're just like, my God, the man was an absolute legend, But yeah. So anyway, we're kind of getting there. Jane, what's your comment, thoughts on that, mate?
Well, I was just picking up on what Carwyn said. So Carwyn is right. He never scored against Wales in 3 matches, and listen to this: he never scored against South Africa in 12 tests.
Really?
Did you know that? Yeah, he never scored against the Springboks. Played against them 12 times, never scored.
Go on in,
I did know that one because I've listened to the 5 Live podcast with Brian Habana where he's mentioned it about 10 times. But also, now you mention it, because I was racking my brains then when Carmen was saying he hadn't scored against Wales, and thinking back to 95, having watched again some highlights of it the other night. There's one where he basically rumbles right the way up to the line again, dragging 4 players with him, and then Josh Cromfeld takes the ball off him from about half a yard and rolls over. But yeah, it was Cromfeld's try, not Lomu's.
The amount of tries that Cromfeld scored from just chasing Lomu down the pitch and going, "There we go, thank you very much," and 2 meters over. It was an absolute joy to watch. Let's talk Fiji then. Let's talk Fiji. Jane, what can we expect from Fiji, mate?
Well, I'm really intrigued by Fiji in this tournament because for me, although they look really dangerous, I still think there's a number of question marks surrounding them. A lot of people are tipping Fiji to make it out to the pool. Like Jed, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen, watch a lot of TV. I read the newspapers, and nobody's giving Wales a chance. It's Australia, Fiji coming out to the pool. Very few people are giving Wales a chance, but Fiji are a lot of people's favourites to make a big impression in this tournament. And like I said, I want to come at this at a different angle with Fiji because they get talked up so much, and there's a lot of hype around them. But let's think about this then, right? So they are the highest ranked team now in our pool. So they're in uncharted territory because they're coming into this pool as favourites, right? I'd say they're favourites against us and they are favourites to get out of the pool. So the first question mark for me is, how do they handle that being favourites? Because to me, I think Fiji are like Wales. I think they prefer being the underdogs. And this is a very unfamiliar tag for them to now suddenly be favourites. So how do they suddenly cope with that pressure and that expectation of them being favourites? And I think the second question is, they've lost their fly half now, Caleb Muntz. I mean, that was a really cruel blow to lose, a really important player of theirs just days before, a huge match. And he looked really good in the warm-ups, Caleb Muntz. He looked a tidy player. Because I remember thinking when Ben Volovola wasn't called up, I was a bit surprised. I thought they'd go with him for his experience, but I can see now why they called up Caleb Mudd, because he looked a tidy fly half and he can kick his goals. So how do they cope with the loss now of one of their most promising players? Because Coach Simon Valerie said it was a devastating blow. So I'm interested though how they bounce back from that. And I think the other question mark is surrounding their consistency. So if you go back to the 2019 World Cup, they gave a very good account of themselves. They pushed Wales hard, but then they lose to Uruguay. So if they're going to go far in this tournament, they need to be consistent. So could we see a situation where, for example, they beat maybe Wales or they beat Australia, but then they end up losing to Georgia or Portugal? I mean, it could happen, and consistency has been an issue with Fiji. So I think there are some question marks surrounding them. Are they being overhyped? I mean, they have got some world-class players, haven't they?
I think they are, Jamie.
Yeah, Ravatita, Ratrata. They have got, to be fair though, they have got 5 or 6 world-class players. But I just wonder, how are they going to handle being favourites? How are they going to handle the expectation? And as for the style of play, look, we know what to expect with Fiji. We know how dangerous they are in open play. We know they've got some very dangerous runners, and they are going to cause havoc with ball in hand. I think the difference this time around now is that they're actually more organised from what I've seen, and they've got a set piece. Their scrum in particular has improved. The line-out is still a bit vulnerable. I think we can target them in the line-out, but they can scrummage now. And that's, the difference between Fiji teams then and now is that they do look more organised and they do look more disciplined as well. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. And I can see why Gatland, we'll talk about later, I can see why Gatland has chosen the team he has. But I'm just intrigued by Fiji. And would you believe as well, we had an office sweepstake today and I picked out Fiji, which, you couldn't write it.
Doesn't bode well, does it?
Well, look, I will be cheering them on all the way except for Sunday nights. That's all I can say. But, so that's my thoughts on general in Fiji. I'm really intrigued by how they cope with everything that's going on and the expectation, the pressure, and how they bounce back from this Caleb Mudd setback. But one thing we do know, we know they're going to push us all the way, and we know how dangerous they are. Don't we?
They are dangerous. And like, as we learned in 2007, But for me, all this doom and gloom is like, Fiji, they've beaten England. Look, they've beaten England. We beat them a couple of weeks before that. With a sort of a mixed up team. The week before, Fiji lost to France seconds by a fairly decent score. I think it was 34-17. Are we just building them up just because that's what we do in our nature as Welshmen? Because we're not too sure how we're going to fare. I think we're going to beat them, and I think we're going to do quite well out of it. I mean, we've got some cracking players ourselves, and yes, they have got some world-class players who play all over the world, and you wouldn't want to run into them in a bus. But I do believe that Wales have the nous, and especially with Dan Bigger at fly half, to control this game and play in the right areas and take the game to Fiji and win. And I think they will win quite comfortably. I'm not a doom monger. I'm not going to listen to what everything's all these other pods. Oh, we're going to lose to Fiji. That's it. We're bollocks to him. We've got to beat Georgia next. No, I think we're gonna beat them, and we're gonna put them to bed and move on.
We've not been given a chance though. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and actually, and I will say this: I think there's a lot of disrespect and disregard to Wales. Yeah. Actually, from a lot of podcasts I've heard. And look, I know it's been a terrible year in Welsh rugby. Right, it's been really bad on and off the field, and we didn't exactly have a stellar Six Nations, right? But we are not a terrible team. I don't care what anyone says. We are not a terrible team. On our day, if we get it right, we can cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams. And I am confident about this week, but I'm not going to lie, I am nervous as well. I am more nervous about this Sunday than I ever was when we played Fiji in 2019, 2015, 2011. I'm not going to mention 2007 because that's erased from my memory. That doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. But this is the most nervous I've ever been about Fiji because they have got core world-class players. And I think this is the best Fiji team we've seen in a long time. Having that Fijian Drua team in Super Rugby has really helped them because now they've got some cohesion. The lack of preparation time was always one of the problems that Fiji had. They haven't got that now. And Simon Raului is a very good coach, as Jedward knows, Newport FC legend. Yeah, there was a sudden departure of Vern Cotter, and you wondered how they were going to deal with that. And he's come in, he's done a good job. I am
think it's
worried
the
about
fact-
this weekend.
I think it's the fact that we're playing them up, that we're playing them first. And I think that's where those nerves come in. Because I tell you what, if we had played Australia first and beat them, no one would be worried about Fiji. Because we put all the other teams to bed. We are going to put Georgia to bed. It might be an arm wrestle for the first 20, 30 minutes, but we're going to put them to bed, especially after the last time out in Cardiff. Wales are going to do well. We're going to get to the quarterfinals. I have no doubt about it. I may
You're
be
too positive, Carwyn. This is too. I don't like this.
Look, I may be eating my can of Mickey Ray come Sunday, but we'll wait and see. But I am positive. I'm not one of these doommongers who's, it's Fiji. They're beating England. They're beating this. They've beaten Samoa, Tonga, and Japan. And they played against England in crap conditions and not the best England team you'll ever see. So for me, it's Wales to lose as far as I'm concerned.
So
I can't be that confident with you, Carwyn, at all. It's fucking hell.
It's interesting. It's really interesting. I don't think they've been overhyped. I think they're a really good side. I agree with you, Carwyn. Beating England at Twickenham. I mean, this England side over the summer is as bad an England side as I've ever seen. And that's not to say that who knows, they might not pull some 2007 style coup and ignore the coach and start doing something. But based on what we've seen out of them the whole year, actually, not just this summer, they've been absolutely dreadful. So I wouldn't necessarily read too much into that. I think it will give Fiji confidence, though. There is something about winning at Twickenham that will be a big feather in the cap for them. I think the thing that you can't ignore is they've got 3, 4, possibly 5 world-class players in there. Go back to Jamie's point, losing Caleb Muntz is massive. I do really think that, and it's a position that we always know they've had really talented outside backs, amazing ball handling skills throughout the ranks. Fly half has always been a position where perhaps they've been missing that. They've always not really had necessarily a flair player at fly half. It's always been the Nicky Littles and the Volas. They've always looked to kind of perhaps have a bit of a steady Eddie in there. Now, Muntz is that perfect balance, being able to manage a game and also get the backs outside him going. So I do think that's a blow for them. But at the same time, so I think they're legitimate favourites for that. But that shows you kind of how poor a season Wales have had now. The thing that I agree with Jamie on, though, is that we're being written off completely. I think that suits us. And I do think there's a degree of disrespect to it. And also, it's like, I think you have to look back at a bit of history. You can look back and go, oh, well, Wales lost to Georgia last year. It's like, yeah, we did, but it was under Pivac. The side was in disarray. You can look at the Six Nations. Yes, we were terrible, but at the same time, it's just been everything that was going on off the pitch. Gatland picked it up, probably didn't realise quite what a mess it was, couldn't have an impact. This is the time that Gatland generally gets the best out of his players, where he's got 6 to 8 weeks to work with them properly, gets them fully ready for a World Cup. And there are some really talented players in that Welsh squad. I suppose the disappointment is some of those talents aren't as experienced as perhaps you would like. But, mark my words, Jack Morgan, Dewi Lake, these players, I think he may not get as much game time this time around. Mason Grady, these are all going to go on and be quality international players. So if we can get it right and click, I'm praying that it's 2011 all over again, because no one gave us a bloody a chance then. Look at that back row then. Could anyone outside of Wales told us who Dan Lydiate, Sam Warburton and Toby Falatau were? And they are and they're Wales and Lions greats for me. So I'm really hoping that it's that again.
No one mentions that, do they? Why does nobody talk about 2011 when we stuffed them 66-0? All we ever hear about is 2007. That's all we ever hear about. And the one from a comfort is we have beaten them every time since, 2007. We keep drawing Fiji and we keep beating them. So, I'm talking in World Cups now, mind.
We did draw with them in Cardiff once, didn't we?
That was an autumn game. I'm talking about World Cups now specifically.
I went to that game. It was the very first game I took my boys to. I took both boys. I took them out of school early so we could get up to Cardiff early and all that. We nearly missed kickoff. Oh my God, both of them were asleep by halftime. It was the worst game of rugby. To watch your first game of rugby and that be your first like international game. Like my first international game was Wales against Japan in '83 or something like that. And I remember the program. I remember the hat, the scarf. I remember seeing a couple of players. I remember all of this kind of stuff. Oh my God, Wales, Fiji. I think it was 16 all, and we were lucky to scrape that 16. And I remember going down to the hot dog stand about 10 minutes before half time, and I'll have 3 hot dogs, please. Oh, we're all sold out. We're all sold out. And it was the causeway behind the stand. It was just full. Nobody was watching the game, and this is 10 minutes before half time. So, yeah, I think the game on Sunday will be a lot better than that. I'd be surprised if people were leaving before half time. But yeah,
but Lee, as you well know, the Wales Georgia game, I took my daughter. It was her first international game, and we lost to Georgia. I'm worried now. I've scarred it for life, and I've taken it down the Dragons. So think about that. Oh, God, imagine now the memory she got now that she's been to see Wales Georgia. That was her first international I took her to, and I felt so bad. I felt terrible. I'd taken my child to see that. You need to
start putting money to one side for the therapy she's going to need when she gets older, mate.
Oh, I know. I know.
Are you sure your dad loved me? He took me to the Georgia game.
And the Dragons, he keeps taking me to see the Dragons.
He won't let me watch the Scarlets.
All right, you're going too far now. Too far. Steady on now.
Yeah, no need to rub salt in it, mate. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
So saying about Fiji outside halves, talented Fiji outside halves, just to one side for a minute. So probably the most talented and gifted Fiji player ever that people need to watch on Tinternet is Serevi. I know a lot of the stuff that he did was in sevens, and you could just watching him take a conversion was about as far away from Dan Bigger as you can get. So if anybody has a chance of looking at Serevi, take a kick, and literally ball down, look at the posts, a step, and over it goes. And he was slotting them from 45, 50 meters, and he was just such a joy of a player to watch. Anybody gets a chance, Serevi from
he had a season at Leicester. He had a season at Leicester, Viali Serevi, didn't he? And he didn't play. You're right. There was a lot of time he spent playing sevens and was the master at that. But I remember him watching him play outside half for Leicester, and I'd like those the old baggy jerseys with his sleeves with the letters on the back and his sleeves rolled up. He was just incredible. Yeah, absolute magician to watch. Yeah. Truly awesome player, and again could play anywhere in that back line if he wanted to. Could play absolutely anywhere because he's just that skillful a player.
I love watching him play. So let's talk about the Wales team. Let's talk about the Wales team for Sunday, and we'll focus on what we can do more than what the opposition are going to do. So backs for Sunday. So we've got Gareth Davis, Dan Bigger, Josh Adams on the wing, Tompkins and North in the centre, Reece Samet on the other wing, Liam Williams at fullback, and then some subs, Thomas Williams, Costello and Dyer. So, Jed, what do you make of that as a starting and a finishing backline?
I remember thinking, going back a couple of weeks before the World Cup squad was announced, and all the chat around it was, we don't know, it's going to be the most unexpected side, who's going to be in there. And I remember thinking the same about this. And the reality is it's actually looking at it, there's no real great surprises in there. I suppose the biggest thing was who was going to play in the centre with George North. And it was only ever going to be Tompkins or Williams, and he's gone for Tompkins. The rest of it, I think, is pretty predictable. You go with, I know Rio Dyer's really impressed Gatland, but at the same time, Adams is a world-class performer and probably that bit better defensively. And so I can see that, Liam Williams picks himself really, as wonderful as Harpenny is defensively. I think you have to pick Liam Williams for just that bit of extra attacking threat. And he had a great game at Twickenham going back a few weeks. And then, I think Gareth Davis over Thomas Williams is probably the right call. Davis has come back into form and again offers that, I suppose, not quite that threat that he offered in 2019 with the intercepts and leading the defensive line, but he's got the experience. He's got real pedigree in World Cups, Scott. There's that try against Australia last time round, tries in 2015, obviously the one that he finished from Lloyd Williams' kick at against England, and then the one in the quarterfinal against South Africa. To be fair to him, he's a big game player. He's got bags of experience, and I also think if the game starts to break up a bit, Thomas Williams is probably the kind of player you want coming off the bench to take advantage of that. And we haven't really seen a particularly cohesive Williams and Bigger axis at 9 and 10, and you have to pick Bigger. You absolutely have to. So, yeah, there's no real concerns with it. Anyone who's listened to our podcast will know I can't figure out why I'm not a massive fan of Tompkins. There's just something about him that doesn't quite.
Is anyone a fan of Tompkins?
He does the basics well, doesn't he? He's got a great pass on him. He's got a good bit of vision on him, and he's got a bit of dog in him.
Yeah, he has.
But you mentioned, like I say, if the game opens up there and you've got Thomas Williams, I actually think it's a pretty decent bench. I think it's quite a dynamic bench we've got there. It's like we're expecting the play to open up in those last 25 minutes. Because, like I say, you've got Costello, Dyer, he's a live wire. Thomas Williams, Ravel, Jenkins now, when that first game against England, he made the most meters out of any forward, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure that's what I read somewhere. But Domachowski, who's going to be bashing down trees all day, especially his first World Cup cap. And again, you've got Elliot D coming on, very reliable player, and Dylan Lewis. So I think it's a cracking bench we got there as well. To come off, I think they're going to have the legs. And I'm just listening to some of the players there on the WRU site saying, we have worked harder than any team. We are fitter. It was hotter out in Turkey, in Switzerland, than it was out here. We're ready for this. There's no hold bars, and they're going to be guns blazing. I think they really are. But I think that's quite a good bench. It wasn't the bench I was fully expecting, but I think it's a good bench.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I thought we'd see the forwards. I think are more telling with the replacements there, because I thought we'd see Nicky Smith and Henry Thomas come on off the bench, as we've seen the Womps. And actually, I think they've both impressed coming on and doing a good job scrummaging wise. He's gone for Dylan Lewis, who obviously offers more around the park than he does at scrum time, and then Domachowski over Nicky Smith as well. So I think that's quite interesting and perhaps quite telling. I think you're right, Colin. The fitness is the thing that I think we've got every right to be confident about, given the way that Gatland sides turn up at World Cups. We always go in really, really fit, and that counts for a lot. So it's not the Fiji of old where they'll die. They'll die off after 60 minutes. It's not that anymore.
No.
But I do think Wales have pushed themselves. I essentially think Gatland has gone, well, we might not be the best side, but we're going to be the fittest side there.
It's going to be a tough 80 minutes. But again, watching the Fijian forwards against England there, we've got 2 6'8" second rows, and especially when it comes to the defending the maul and everything, I think they're probably the right players to have in starting that match as well. I just hope Adam Beard has one of his better games.
He needs a big game.
Yeah, he does, because I think Will Rowlands plays well every time he puts that jersey on. And I think he's a hard player to stop. I just want to see a bit more from Adam Beard.
But we'll talk about the forwards in a minute. So, Jane, what do you make of that back line on that?
Well, the point I was going to raise was there is no recognised centre on the bench. Okay,
there's only one on the pitch, Jane. There's only one recognised centre on the pitch, mate.
Oh, let's not go down this road again.
We all know your thoughts.
George North can't defend it outside centre. Carry on.
Yes, we know. Okay, so there's no recognised centre on the bench, and that's a bit risky. So if Tompkins or North gets injured, we're probably looking at the likelihood of Josh Adams moving into the centre, which he has played at centre for Wales. But that does not fill me with confidence. I'm very surprised Gatland didn't therefore go for someone like Mason Grady, someone who can cover the centre and the wing. That would have been an option. But I think the lack of a recognised centre on the bench is a bit risky. Going back to the forwards, I am pleasantly surprised that Aaron Wainwright's at 6, because I honestly thought that he was going to go for the experience of Dan Lydiate. I expected a Lydiate, Morgan, Talupe Faletau back row. And I think Aaron Wainwright, I know he's doing really well at 8. I mean, our England game in Cardiff, I thought that was his best performance at 8 for Wales. But I really like this back row, and I'm glad Gatland has got Wainwright at 6. I think Dan Lydiate would have been fine, but I think that would have been almost a safe option. But I quite like the fact he's got Aaron Wainwright at 6. But other than that, I mean, the squad pretty much is as is expected, and there's no major surprises. And you're seeing comments on social media from people saying, "Oh, it's a very Gatland team. It's uninspiring, it's safe." And I think, well, maybe, just maybe, this is what is needed to beat Fiji.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're not
safe
just
wins
chucking caution to the wind. Yeah, maybe this
No.
is what we need to do. We need to be safe. We need to be disciplined. I don't give a shit. I really don't. We just need to win this game. Because if we lose this game, it really is all on this game, right? Because I saw Gareth Rees-Owen from Scrum 5 describe Wales' World Cup in 3 words, and he put all on Fiji. And that is spot on. And then you had people replying to say, "Oh, not really, because we could lose to Fiji and, we could beat Portugal, Georgia, and then just beat Australia." No, we don't want to be in that position. We do not want to be in a position where it's all or nothing against Australia. Wales are a momentum team. We know this from history. If they win that first game, I think we get out the pool because the momentum and confidence is with us. We are a momentum and confidence team. If we lose against Fiji, I think we're facing an uphill battle. So this game on Sunday is massive, absolutely massive.
Yeah, to be world champions, you've got to beat everyone at the end of the day. But just going back to the back line, you said, if we lose George North, in comes Adams, Dyer, and Dyer. But if we lose Tompkins, I see Bigger going inside centre, Costello coming on. What if we lose both centres? And then we got Costello, Bigger, Adams, Dyer. Still not too bad, to be honest. I mean, it'll be patchwork, but they're still capable, aren't they?
Personally, in attack, I'd like to see us throw someone like Zamet or Williams into the centre, just to break it up and give it a little bit of that unexpected kind of feel that Fiji just won't be expecting from us.
That's why you played in the forwards, Lee.
No, we'll talk tactics in a bit. If we're going to play into Fiji's hands, then Fiji are going to sit there all day and wrap us up, and they're just going to eat us alive. We need to do something that's a little bit different. But we'll talk tactics in a minute. Let's talk forwards.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. I say let's talk forwards. Yeah. So we've got front row of Thomas, Elias, and Francis. Then we've got Rowlands and Beard, and then we've got Wainwright, Morgan, and Faletau. And what I will say, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead here now. Wainwright's picture on the WRU website is an absolute classic 70s look with the moustache and the headband, and I'm loving the retro look there. So, Carwyn, what you make of that selection in the forwards, mate?
I think they're a pretty heavyweight pack. Like you said, I would have liked to have seen Nicky Smith there. I think Henry Thomas has played well. But I think they're a big enough, strong enough, streetwise pack to take on Fiji. I don't think they're going to be pushed around. Like you said, like everyone said, it's a typical Gatland side. Is it the side like we saw in 2011, 2015? Maybe. But they're not going to take a backward step, I don't think. I think, especially with Jack Morgan there, I think he'll lead from the front, as we've seen him doing a couple of previous occasions there. And it's good to have Tolupe back as well. I like on my team, I did put that back row down as my back row for the first game. My front row was slightly different, obviously with Dowie Lake. Obviously he's still not quite right or quite got enough minutes under his belt for this game. But it's good to see Ryan Ellis back in there because he's a tough old boy and he has his doubters, but he's never let Wales down. And I think he'll be right in the middle of everything there. So I don't think they've got anything to worry about in the pack. They just need to have a great game. They just need to work as a team and just get stuck in.
Right. So, Jed, what kind of tactics are you expecting? We're separated the two between what tactics are you expecting and what the Wales need to do to beat Fiji. So what are you expecting from that team that Gatland has selected?
I'm expecting them to keep it tight, structured, everything, avoiding the mistakes that we made in the opening 20 minutes in 2019 and made during the entire game in 2007. I think you've got to keep it structured. Yes, Fiji have improved massively at set piece, but the biggest danger you face from them is if you get into a fast, expansive game. So I think you've got to keep things tight. I would expect to see a strong kicking game from Bigger, probably from Gareth Davis as well. Send the ball high, good competitive kick chases. And Fiji got a fantastic back row themselves, but I think it's a really exciting back row that Wales have put out. It's very athletic, and I think that's going to be crucial. I think you go with the kind of the Dan Lidiots for if it was South Africa running at you very, very straight and very, very hard. Fiji's likely to be a bit more offload orientated, a bit faster, a bit looser, and someone like Wainwright offers that athleticism at 6 that I think alongside the ball carrying and the other bits that he does. So I think that it's about keeping it structured, sticking to that game plan, and then exploiting the opportunities when they arise, because you pinch an intercept try, something like that. That could be an absolute turning point in a game. So I do think it's going to be a real tough, hard fought fixture, and there's going to be points where we have to dig in. But it's a simple, structured game plan for me.
And I think that one of the key bits that it will come down to is just kicking your goals. I think, as I'm not a fan of Gatland's boring game. It's mind numbing to watch. But against Fiji, I think that's the only game that will actually beat Fiji. I think France tried to play Fiji at their own game and nearly came a cropper, and it was only the French kicking that really saved them. I think England fell into that trap as well of let's try and throw the ball, and Fiji punished them. So I think if we can put them under the pressure, I don't think they're good under the high ball. I don't think they've got a fantastic line out. But the one bit of Elias's game which is weak is his line out. So if we can nail that, and if we know that we're going to kick to corners and we're going to put them under a lot of pressure, then if that's your tactics, your wingers positioning and your fullback positioning adjust accordingly. So if those are the tactics that we're going to play, then we shouldn't be giving them space, and we should be saying to them, right, if you're going to want to run the ball, you're going to have to do it from your own 22. And every time you turn over that ball, so when you've got someone like, I'm interested to see where Reffel comes on. I would love to see us play 2 7s for the last half an hour. If Faletau comes off, I put Wainwright to wait, and I put Jack Morgan and Reffel, and I think we'll just turn them over, because they do like to play that looser game, and having 2 turnover specialists on the pitch will play right into our hands. But yeah, if we can put them under the pressure, put the high ball in, and just basically kick them into submission, I think that's the team that Gatland's selected, particularly with Bigger there. Bigger hasn't had a lot of game time through the warm-ups. He's been out in France before that, so it's kind of been a bit disjointed. So it's going to be really important to see how him and Gareth Davis have got a bit of a relationship in the past, so that should settle in quite quickly. And I think that's how we beat Fiji, is that kind of knowing that the ball's going to go in the air and it's going to come down with snow on it, and it's going to be everything on that kick. So yeah, I don't expect an exciting game. I'm expecting to go through a lot of tubes of Pringles on Sunday. This is how I measure the game. I'll have 2 tubes of Pringles, but I've usually got a stash hidden somewhere as well. And I have 1 tube for the first half and 1 tube for the second half. And if it's all going wrong, I can pretty much guarantee you I'll be at least 2 tubes of Pringle in by about 30 minutes into the game. And it's never good by if I've gone through 2 tubes of Pringles before half time, it's not a good game. It's not a good game.
See, my worry, Lee, is picking up injuries from this first game going forward. Injuries that we can't recover from. You know, I think obviously there's always something in these South Sea Islander games where someone gets hurt, and I just hope that it doesn't happen in this particular game, that we still have a full healthy squad going forward for the rest of the World Cup. You know, especially.
I think something that's helpful though actually is this is a very tough game to open with. You've then got a 6-day turnaround to Portugal, which, you know, with the greatest respect to Portugal, that's a game you've got to be beating, and you've got to be planning in some squad rotation for that. And then I think you've got that's our rest week before playing Australia and then Georgia last up. So actually the scheduling's been fairly kind to us. So you're right. I think if you avoid any big injuries, then the odd knock or two, you've got the chance to rotate the squad a bit and make sure everyone's all right for that.
Yeah, bit of recovery time.
Yeah.
But the chances of avoiding knocks against Fiji are quite. I mean, you could sidestep some of their props and still only be halfway across their body. Some of them are just massive. So it's going to be interesting. So, Jane, how do Wales win this game? What do Wales have to do? Let's put aside what we expect from Gatland. How do you beat Fiji as a team?
Well, to be fair, I thought Jed covered it really well. I think we just got to be structured, and I think we got to be disciplined. When you watch that game in 2007, we fell into Fiji's trap because we tried to play them at their own game, and it didn't work. So discipline is key. Let's not give away any silly penalties. Don't give them any field position. Don't give them any opportunities. We need to be clinical when the opportunities are there. Also, don't panic. You know, when Fiji score first, if they're building a lead, don't panic. And I think having people like Dan Bigger there and Talupe Faletau having a couple of old heads is a good thing, you know, because they can calm it down. And it's going to be a real test for Jack Morgan as captain. But we just haven't got to panic. We've got to be structured, disciplined. And, you know, we can win. You know, we are. I personally think that we are a better team than Fiji. I know they've been making real strides in their above us in the rankings, but I do fancy us to win. But we need to be cool, calm, structured, disciplined, take the opportunities. And I think we should just about get past them. But I'm so nervous about it. I really am to say this. I just want this game over with, because this is the one game in the pool that I'm most nervous about. I'm not nervous about Australia at all. And I don't think
we're used to playing them.
Place. Well, exactly. I know we haven't got a great record against Australia, but I'm really not convinced about it right now. You know, they've got a rookie 10 who can't kick at a goal. You know, they've lost a lot of senior experience. Eddie Jones has put a lot of faith in youth, and I don't know if it's going to work for this World Cup. It might do for the next World Cup, but I don't know if it's going to work for this World Cup. I mean, we had Paul Edison on the pod, didn't we, last week, and he predicted that Fiji and Wales were going to make it out of the pool. I don't think it's a dead cert that Australia will get out this pool. But like I said, for me, this is a must-win game. I can relax when it's over if we win. But just cool heads, keep it calm, discipline, structure, be clinical as well. We've got to take those opportunities. And we should hopefully get the job done.
Cool. Jed, one way of how Wales beat Fiji, or how anyone beats Fiji.
I think Jamie's hit the nail on the head. Look, you've got to keep it tight. Don't play into their hands, and stay in the game. Just you've got to stay in the game, take your chances. And I don't think there's too much more to add to it. It's it has to be a simple game plan from us. You know, we can't magic up some kind of all court barbarian style rugby that we haven't played for the last 15 years out of nowhere. And if you do that, the worst side in the world to do it against is Fiji. So keep it structured. But the thing that has to go right, you know, it's all very well talking about Fiji set piece. Ours has got to function. And you know, the scrum has been a bit up and down across the warm-up games. The line out was fine in the first game, was a horror show at Twickenham, and actually didn't go too badly against South Africa despite the scoreline. But they've got to fire. We've got to get those. We've got to get those right. And again, the warm-up games are forgotten if it goes right on this one. I'm with Jamie. It's got to be. I do think we need a win if we're going to have a successful campaign on this one, and for the momentum, for the belief, and I do. It's a good enough side to do it.
Okay. So let's move on to some score predictions then. Bollocks on the block, boys. This is the important bit of the show. Carwyn, your score prediction for Wales v Fiji on Sunday.
Bollocks to it. Wales by 17. Honestly, it's going to come to calm heads, starting round, take your 3 points here, there, build that score, put the pressure on them, and break loose. That's what's going to happen. And like you said, how do Wales win this game? 1, they need to score more points than Fiji, but 2, they're going to do it by 17 points, I reckon.
See, I find that's always a good tactic for winning, scoring more points.
Exactly.
I don't know why more people don't employ that tactic. I'll be honest with you, Carl.
I think it works quite well.
Yeah. James, score prediction for Sunday.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be nervy. I don't want it to be a high-scoring game, to be honest with you. I hope it's tight as possible. I'm going to go for Wales by about 6 points. I don't know, something like 2014, something like that. And look, I know you don't like Warrenborn, the style of playing. There are people who moan about this, saying it's dull and the French ones. I'll tell you right now, I'll take a 3-0 win on Sunday. I really don't give a fuck if it's non-entertaining, if it's dull, if it's scrappy. I do not care. All I care about is winning on Sunday. That's all we should care about as fans. I know entertainment is part of it. We've got to win this game.
Yeah, but we don't.
If it's turgid,
we don't want to give them. We do not want to give them a bonus point purely because of the way Australia are playing.
It could come down to bonus points. You're right. Yeah, this could. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but yeah, that's a good point. I think it could necessarily come down to bonus points, but that's my prediction anyway. I'm going to go for Wales by 6.
Okay, Jed, your prediction?
I think he's going to be even tighter than that. Wales by 2. I think it's going to be really tight. I think we'll stay in it by kicking our. I think we'll stay in it by kicking our goals. I think Fiji will score some tries. I'm not too worried about bonus points. I'm worried about the win. Get the win, and the momentum will be there. We'll beat Australia. We beat Fiji. We'll beat Australia, I think. And
so you're making me feel nervous now. It's like proper squeaky bum time, isn't it?
I think it'll do that to you following Wales, won't it? And it's I do think it's a tough game first up. I think Fiji have, they've got world-class players who can magic something. There will be moments where they break the line out of nothing, and like you say, they score first or they score twice early on. You got to stay calm and you got to get back. If you find yourself 12 points down after 10 minutes, you got to get that back to 12-6. You got to keep squeaky clean, stay in the game, get your penalties, stay in it. Just stay in the game and trust that your fitness and the execution will be there to come out. I think it's a tough game, but I do think Wales will win it. But it's tight. Wales by 2.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that Wales will be possibly about 10. Wales by 10.
Really?
Yeah,
10 points.
But I think it's going to be
quite optimistic coming from you.
Yeah, well, like Jamie said, I'm not a fan of Warrenborn, but this is a very Warrenborn team. The only thing that would have made it more Warrenborn would be putting Mason Grady or Llewellyn in it inside centre. So I think this is the way to beat Fiji, is to not play Fiji at Fiji's game. You can't allow yourself to get pulled into that game, and I think too many sides again, because we all, as rugby players, we all enjoy that kind of game. We all enjoy that. Yeah, let's just sling it around. Go on, you have a go, and I'll be on your inside shoulder, and I'm going to do a little goose step, and then I'm going to do a chip and chase and all that kind of stuff. We all enjoy playing that kind of game, but this is the World Cup, and I'm with you on that. If it's boring and we win by 3-0, then I'm fine. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that my heart will take that many tubes of bloody Pringles, but I think it's going to be close. But I think Wales by 10, and it'll be one of those last minute. We might be 3 ahead, and then there'll be a last minute try sort of a thing. So yeah, but I'm going Wales by 10. Yeah. So Carby, you wanted to, wanted to
all about fitness.
Can I just ask, what do you think? Obviously, as Welsh fans now, we're like, oh, it's going to be close. It's going to be this, that. How do you think Australian fans are reacting? Going, oh, we've got Fiji coming up soon. Are we worried about Fiji? The way Australia are playing, are they as optimistic or pessimistic as us?
The bloody press over there are worse. They are baying for blood with Eddie already.
Yeah. They're not fussed on Eddie already. They've lost they've lost all faith and confidence in Eddie. And it doesn't help when he's come up with bullshit, like he does in the airport, doesn't it? When he's having a go at the reporters, saying, "Oh, you're all negative. You don't want us to win." You're not going to get the press on side of it here. But I've said it before. I think Australia are vulnerable in this pool, and it would not surprise me if they did make it out of the pool. And that might sound mad to some people, but I think they're vulnerable in a lot of areas. So, I'm sure Australian reporters, fans, and pundits are on edge a little bit. But I think they should be as well.
They've got some very exciting outside backs, but you're right. I mean, there's no experience at 10, and there's no other option. It's not like you can suddenly go, "Oh, it didn't work for Gordon in the first game, so we're going to bring in Bernard Foley or Quade Cooper." There's no one there with any experience. He's the only outside half, so such a pivotal position. The one thing that worries me with Australia is they have a scrum now, and
it's true.
In Angus Bell, they have a proper scrummaging prop, and the heft of the Skeltons of this world and the other big bastard in the second row, I can't remember, is that could give them a platform. But again, there's a lot of doubt around that side at the moment. Australian rugby's not in particularly good nick, and I think if we beat Fiji, I think then they're there for the taking, and it all becomes very, very nervous for Australia.
So we're all bigging up the Australian press and support. I think we should just spend a week retweeting the Australian press and telling them what a good job they're doing of having a go at Eddie.
Get stuck into Uncle Eddie,
yeah, best way forward. So that's the last game of I think it's the last game of round one on Sunday night. What other games are you looking forward to between now and then? So pick one game each. Jamie, you get to go first, so pick a game between now and Sunday night that you're really looking forward to.
I guess the obvious answer would be the game on Friday night, France New Zealand, but I'm not going to pick that. I'm actually going to pick Scotland and South Africa, because that pool is a pool of death, and if Scotland can pull off a win there, that blows that pool wide open. Now, I'm not getting on the Scotland bandwagon like a lot of people, the dark horses thing. The problem with Scotland they're on the wrong side of the draw in the wrong pool. But can you imagine if they qualified from that pool and either Ireland or South Africa missed out? The fallout and the shitstorm from either nation, Ireland number one ranked in the world, South Africa favourites to win it. It would be immense. I really hope Scotland do it. I don't think they will. But that is going to be an absolute belter, Scotland and South Africa. And that could really throw a spanner in the works if Scotland turn up and they stun the South Africans. So, that'll be the one I'm looking forward to.
So Scotland are playing South Africa just before Wales-Fiji. So that's on Sunday at 4:45. So, Carwyn, any other games that you want to pick out that you're looking at and you're going, ooh.
Jamie just stole my thunder, but I completely agree with him. I hope Scotland do smash the box. But as I'm going to have to pick another team now, I'm looking forward to watching Argentina beat England.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other game for me over the weekend. Obviously, like you said again, the first game's going to be immense. But going further into those other groups, I think Argentina, England, and we'll get an idea of, if we beat Fiji, of who we could be playing in the quarterfinals. So, I think that's going to be a good game.
Okay. Jed, any games that are standing out for you in that first round?
I mean, this shows how brilliant this opening round is that you've picked off two absolute crackers there, a vulnerable England side up against Argentina, who no one seems to be talking about, by the way, despite the fact they've had some really good results this year. Michael Check is a canny operator. I'm with you on this, Carwyn. Argentina will win that.
Yeah.
And obviously, Scotland, South Africa will be a cracker. I don't see Scotland doing it, but I think even a good performance from them could be enough to give them the confidence going into the Ireland game. They've got a terrible record against both sides. That's the problem they've got. It's a truly terrible record against both of them. But I could see them losing to South Africa, but with a good performance, and then giving Ireland a massive bloody nose and taking them right to the wire. So that pool is going to be interesting. But I suppose if you boys have gone for those two, I'll have to go for the opening fixture for the reasons that we mentioned first up.
Great way to kick off, though, is the France New Zealand.
Amazing.
That is an absolute belter. Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So I'm torn between my games. I'm thinking either Australia or Georgia. I genuinely think Georgia might just throw everything at Australia in those first 20 minutes, that first half hour, and they might get something out of that game. So I think that's going to be a cracking game. That's on Saturday at 5 o'clock. The England game, by the way, is Saturday at 8 o'clock. But then I'm looking at it and I'm going, like, do you know, one of the games that I really want to see, just because you don't get to see it very often, Sunday midday, Japan versus Chile, and
that'll be fun. That'll be a fun game.
It will be fun.
Exactly, yeah. And you look at that and you go, do you know, it's two sides that are just going to enjoy being at the World Cup, you know, and they're going to go and give everything. And sometimes you need to watch a game where you're not on edge, and you're not kind of like
just enjoy the rugby, isn't it?
Yeah, you know. So
you put the Pringles down.
I don't think I think I'm gonna have to lock them away. I think I'm just gonna put them in a cupboard somewhere and get my wife to give me like you know, every now and then, every 20 minutes I'm allowed like 4 little bits of Pringles. But yeah, Japan Chile Sunday lunchtime midday. I just think that's going to be a belter of a game and will be good for the nerves. It'll be good to calm you down before. So you go from that game, you go Japan Chile, then you go South Africa and Scotland, and you build yourself up. And then you go Wales and Fiji, and then you go, oh, Jesus, Lord, I got to go to sleep because, my God, that's just too much rugby for a Sunday. Sunday's the calm day of the week. Sunday's the day of the week where you're meant to be relaxing. And Christ, we're going to finish it with Wales Fiji. Anyway, right, let's have a little look at a couple of other things. So, Carwyn, how are we doing with Fantasy League, my friend?
Well, talking about the games we were just talking about, and this is also sort of bringing in the Fantasy League. I'm being a bit selfish because I'm looking forward to Italy smashing Namibia because of my players I have in my Fantasy League team. But yeah, we're touching nearly 60 players in the league at the moment. So, you know, whoever's listening, please feel free to join our league. And whoever comes top, if it's not me or one of the others here, we may well invite you on the pod and have a bit of crack with you after the World Cup. Which I think would be quite a cool thing to do. But yeah, come and join us.
I'm a little bit worried about that because my son questioned me. I said, "Your Fantasy League, Dad, is your podcast got a Fantasy League?" Yeah, of course it has, fella. Right, I've joined it. I'm gonna kick your ass, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, come on! It's hard enough competing against everybody else, and now I've got my 18-year-old son absolutely gunning for me on Fantasy League, and I'm like, I want to relax.
What's his handle on the league?
I don't know. Bastard won't tell me. I've got to go through and I got to try and put him into a family team so I can find out what his bloody name is, so I can try and disrupt him. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, you can just search for us for RAP, WRRAP, and you'll find us in the Fantasy League. And any early entries into the hair, tash, and beard standings that you've seen, Count? Obviously, the whole of the Georgian side.
Well, there's that particular player, and he's got that lovely twirly moustache. Now, the name of that moustache is that I've been doing a little bit of research. Is comes after a cricket stadium. It's called the Oval. So for any of those who are wishing to grow a moustache like that is called the Oval. But my favourite hairstyle, I don't even know the player, is Fijian, but someone put a comment there out there earlier on Twitter and saying, what was it? He's now got the Saracens' salary cap on. You know, it's so high above his head, above the line.
Yeah.
It was sitting like a foot above his head.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? It was like you say, it was almost like having, he's got like a massive kind of like 60s style afro, but it's so tight and it's so compact that the hat genuinely doesn't reach his skull. It just sits on top of his head.
It must be like 8 inches or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. See, maybe this is the way that we solve concussion. We don't need helmets like in American football. We just all need massive 8 inches of hair, so when the head hits the floor, it just bounces up. So, What do we make about the Australian offerings for facial hair? Because there's a couple of the scrum half, Nick
White.
Yeah, the chopsy fucker.
Yeah.
So he's got a half decent one. But beards in the Australians, I was expecting a lot of big, hefty, catching a fly kind of beard.
Well, it's not only that,
Merv Hughes style.
Yeah, but there's also like a lot of mullets as well, isn't there?
There is a lot of mullet.
Australia and New Zealand, they love the mullet down there.
They do. Yeah.
But I think we need to pick out our moustache beard of the week after the first round of games, I think.
Yeah, I think everybody should be close up to the telly as they're coming on, as they're doing like the pictures. Pick your player that's got the best tash, the best hair, and the best beard, and then we'll talk about that next week.
We'll put it out to vote on Twitter. There we go.
Oh, don't put it out to vote. Oh, good, not on Twitter, man. You've seen where that goes. It goes into a dark place. That's when we do voting. Anyway. We'll cover that one next week. We'll cover where the standings are on the Fantasy League next week. So just before we finish off, so I am going to do YouTube Live on Sunday for the Wales game. I may even do it before. So for those of you that don't know what we mean by that, is imagine having us four in the room with you, only instead of being in the room with you, we're just on YouTube. So we're not going to broadcast the game over YouTube because that's illegal, and Rugby World Cup would fine our asses off. They don't even like you sharing their videos, to be fair. So it'll just be us talking about the game. Whoever comes on when we don't know yet, but it'll just be us talking about the game and shouting and screaming, and you can ask us questions and what do you think about that? And it'll be a bit like having a remote pub sat in the corner there. So you just put us on your phone or put us on your laptop or whatever while you're watching a game. We'll be watching a game, and basically we'll just argue the shit out of everything for 80 minutes and then go. So we're gonna have a crack at that on Sunday anyway, and I'll post everything on our channels before then.
Thanks for the warning.
If it works, it works, and if it don't, fuck it. we give it a go. So yeah, so we'll see what that's like on Sunday. So we've reached the end of the Fiji preview, gents. There's nothing left to say other than it's kickoff time. So this time tomorrow, the first game will be over, and the Rugby World Cup will be well and truly alive. So, Jed, thank you for your time tonight, mate, and your input. It's been fantastic. It's been great. Jamie, that beer, absolutely cracking, mate. I think we're starting a new trend with the beer. I'll be very disappointed if Aunt Bessie's one hasn't made an appearance by the end of the World Cup. Jed, enjoy the World Cup. Enjoy this weekend if you can.
Wales.
He's off.
He's off already. I wish you all the very best, Jed. So, Jed, remind us one more time where people can find you on Twitter and in the world of podcasts.
Yeah, we are at Attacking Scrum on Twitter, and if you search for Attacking Scrum on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the usual places, you can find us. You can find us there, and we've got loads of been doing loads of stuff lately, a few more bonus pods to come throughout the World Cup as well. So there'll be loads of stuff coming up. So and thanks for having me on, boys. It's been great to chat.
Thank you for coming on. It's been great.
Thank you.
And on that note, I shall wish you all a very good night. Enjoy your World Cup. Enjoy your rugby. See you next week, gents. All the best.
Cheers, boys. Enjoy.
Ta-ra now. Bye.
Ta-ra.
Thank you for listening to the Wrap Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording it. Please do rate us and tell your friends, as it really helps us to grow and get better. We'll be back next week with more of the same, and until then, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.